Hey, what's up everyone? We're looking at the Saturday slate. In this video, we have a 5-game slate. Let's get right into it. I already know exactly who I kind of want to look at in the slate. I'm sure injuries will kind of change some things up, but right now I have a pretty good feel of where I want to go on the slate. Hope you guys all had a good night last night, and let's get right into it. You can drop a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. Yesterday, Baines went absolutely bonkers. If you watched the video, you knew I had him on Fanduel too, which nobody really had. But then, of course, when Trae Young got ruled out, I had to upgrade at center, and I went down to Jeff Teague at point guard on Fanduel too, so that cost us like 50 points. So that could have been a monster night on Fanduel. And then Draftkings, Chris Middleton shot 5 of 19, and Davis had 3 first-half fouls, which also kind of sucked. And we're looking great heading into the night game, and then both of those players kind of underwhelmed. But on to today, it's a new day. So starting off here at point guard, really looking at probably going at like Steph Curry at 8,000 looks good. Played 27 minutes, wasn't really that big of a minutes limit after missing like months and months. And he was productive, 42 fantasy points, shot just 6 of 16. He had 6 rebounds, 7 assists. He did get to the free throw line a decent amount. Whenever he's out there on the court, he's going to shoot. He's going to have the ball in his hands. So he's always a high upside player, even if his minutes limit doesn't change that much today. I still think he's a viable option at this price point at home. Also looking at Colin Sexton, 6,900, just because of how banged up the Cavs are. Played 45 minutes, 45 of the 48 minutes against Boston. They absolutely just threw him out there. Also, Kevin Porter got hurt in that game. And then once again today, Drummond and Thompson are both questionable, so that's going to change some things up if they're both in. But if one of them's out, then Sexton and either way, Sexton's going to play a lot of minutes tonight because Garland's also been ruled out, so they are pretty short on guards. I love Ja Morant. Whenever Ja Morant is at home is where I want to target him. He's been awful on the road this year, but at home he's been great. He averages like more than 6 or 7 more fantasy points at home. Last couple games have been blowouts for the team, so he hasn't seen his normal amount of minutes. But with them fighting for the 8th seed, trying to hold on to that 8th seed, they've been giving him big minutes in close games, 35 to 34 against the Lakers. So it definitely should be a spot where, assuming Trae Young is in, should be a competitive game, and Ja Morant should pay off a $6,800 tag. And then I don't mind Shake Milton. And then I think Brandon Knight looks pretty good at 4,800. Right now I have Ja Morant at 6,800 as a pretty nice play today against a fast-paced Hawks team on a back-to-back, traveling, so their defense should be even worse than usual. At shooting guard, I'm looking at Wiggins, Colin Sexton, both look great. I think Lee is viable at 57 just because the position is not very deep. And then I love Dylan Brooks at 4,900, and I like Brandon Knight at 4,800. Also, if you're not aware, the Pistons, they brought in the guard from the Nuggets, Jordan McRae, who's only 4,500. Played 26 minutes, but now Bruce Brown is back, so we'll see if he still gets that kind of run today. I think he will still see 20-plus minutes, but don't know what the upside would be if since Bruce Brown is expected to be back. But at shooting guard, Dylan Brooks looks pretty good today. He played 30 minutes, even in a huge blowout against Dallas last night. So they're also on a back-to-back, so both teams on a back-to-back, but at least the Grizzlies are at home. He's just shooting a lot. Last couple games, shots have been a little bit lower than usual, but some of these games have been blowouts, so he hasn't seen his normal run. But they're giving him huge minutes right now. He's only 4,900. It's an incredible spot against Atlanta. I think good chance that Dylan Brooks, also another player that does a lot better at home compared to on the road for the Grizzlies. Small forward, I love Tobias, 8,300. It's really Tobias or Wiggins are the pay-up options at this position. Like Tobias a lot at 8,300. And then if you're going cheap, Buddy Hield looks fine at 5,400. Chetty Osman just going to have to play a boatload of minutes. He also played 43 minutes, shot just 3 of 14. But if you give him huge minutes, he's not a very good producer, but the minutes should compensate for some of that. And I think he's definitely in play at that price point. And then Joe Ingles looks pretty good. 4,100 for Ingles. looks fine, especially with Mike Conley probably going to rest on a back-to-back, as he's rested on back-to-backs pretty much all year. So assuming we get that news, then Joe Ingles will see pretty heavy minutes tonight, assuming he will start in place of Conley. So I definitely think Ingles looks pretty good. And then that's pretty much it, because I definitely would play Ingles over like Svi now that Bruce Brown's back. But right now I like Tobias, 8,300. Just a good spot, bad defense. He has a very high usage rate, and the matchup is great. So definitely think Tobias is in play at that price point. At power forward, Kevin Love looks good. I assume one of Drummond or Thompson will be back today, but I think a pretty small chance I think that both are in. And Kevin Love looks good at 7,800 either way. He's still going to have to play a lot of minutes. One of them returning is going to kind of hurt Nance a little bit more, I would say. But Kevin Love should still see good minutes tonight against like Millsap and Jeremy Grant. So it's not a terrible matchup for him. I think Horford is in play at 66. And then under 5,000 is once again Chetty Osman, Paul Millsap, and Mike Scott. Personally, I like Kevin Love today, just with all the injuries. The Cavaliers are at home, so that's always a good sign. The Cavaliers have been playing better, too, so ever since they changed coaches. At center, if Drummond is in and Thompson's out, I think you could play him. If both of them are out, then Larry Nance looks great. And if Drummond's out, then Thompson looks good if he's in. I like Valanciunas at that price point, 7,300. I think Horford is viable. But also Marquise Chris is also looking like a pretty good play. I definitely will benefit by having to play with Steph Curry. Curry is a good passer and a willing passer at times. So Curry and him hooked up for some lobs in the game against Toronto. It's another good matchup against Philly, missing Embiid. So the size is, they're playing pretty small some of the times. So definitely think Chris will still see solid minutes, especially if Draymond's back. If Draymond is out again, if Draymond's in, then could see pivoting to somebody else. But right now, 5,900 for the way that he's playing definitely looks viable. And then I guard Colin Sexton, 6,900. It's a big price tag for Sexton, but you got to keep in mind that his role is pretty different right now. With all the injuries, playing huge minutes, and he's actually been very good this year in terms of just scoring. And without Garland, he's having more assist opportunities and just playing very well and playing with a lot of confidence. So Sexton, if this game was in Denver, I'd feel pretty different about some of these Cavs, but at home, I feel like you could go back to a couple of them again, just with how banged up they are. On Fanduel here at point guard, looking at Trae Young if he's in at 9,800. Curry looks good. And then I like Ja Morant, Sexton, and Shake Milton. All of them look pretty fine on the slate. I would say that Sexton is still probably my preferred. 67 is pretty cheap on Fanduel, considering his price on Draftkings and considering the other options. At shooting guard, not a lot of options to pay up for. You have McCollum and Mitchell. I think Mitchell is definitely viable with assuming Conley sits, as he has sat on back-to-backs. So he would get a little bit more ball handling duties. I definitely like Buddy Hield at 57. The minutes are up and down for him. He hasn't really topped 30 minutes in a while. But off the bench, he still has a high usage rate. And if he is on fire from distance, then they're going to close with him and he will top 30 minutes. I'd say Dylan Brooks is still probably one of my favorites at 4,800. Is just really, really cheap for this type of matchup. Small forward, you have Wiggins and Tobias. I would definitely play Tobias over Wiggins, just given the fact that Curry's back and Tobias is still without. The Sixers are still without Richardson and Embiid and Ben Simmons. Other options, not a lot at this position. It would see if Trae Young is out again, then you could look at some of these Hawks players. And Joe Ingles looks good, and as does Chetty Osman at 4,000. Power forward, looking at Kevin Love, Al Horford, Larry Nance, depending on the injury news at center for the team. And then if you want to go cheap, I think that, let's see, if Holmes is back, then that's just going to mess up the entire front court for the Kings. That's pretty much it. I think I'll probably pay up at this position. There's not a lot of superstars on the slate to pay up for, so probably would pay up for like a Kevin Love or an Al Horford. And then at center, you could pay up for Jokic. You could go down here, play Valanciunas at a really nice price point at 7,100. And then if Thompson's out and Drummond is in, then he looks good. If Drummond's out, then Thompson is definitely in play at 5,100 and if he plays. But I like Valanciunas 7,100. It's a great spot against a bad defense, against a team that's been getting just obliterated by centers. So looks like a pretty good spot for Valanciunas. He has monster upside in the spot, especially rebounding. So that's the early look for this Saturday slate. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Keep you guys posted with changes on Twitter, and good luck today.